Maybe like another 30 minutes to talk about that. Yeah. First off, I really want to say that the African immigrant that starts a business obviously started a lot of challenges. Some of the challenges are what every black and brown person experiences: lack of access to capital, lack of the right network, lack of information, and just racism and discrimination. But the African immigrant has another layer of difficulties. You have the communication barrier that that is strong.
Hey, 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 everyone, and welcome to Money Talks Wealth Beyond Numbers. I am your host, Dr. Constance Craig Mason. And listen, people, I am excited because I have my good girlfriend here, Christine Titih, and we have
Mhm.
done so many things over the last several years of knowing one another. But I would love for Christine to give a brief introduction into who she is and how she's serving in our community.
Hello, Dr. Constance, and everyone else listening and watching. I'm so excited to be, part of you today and to share my story and hopefully empower you and encourage you through my story. So yes, I'm Christine Titih. I am a small business owner. I have a business named City Home Care Services, where we support adults with a diagnosis of intellectual disabilities. It's a licensed facility. We teach them skills, take them out in the community, help them to be part of their community. Again, that's one word you'll be hearing a lot during this podcast. Community is very important for me. So then also I'm a community advocate. I have a nonprofit called Oaks of Central PA, which really just started as a way of giving back to community. We had a new hoarders corner where we're distributing diapers and helping out with utilities and things like that. But then COVID came, and I found out that, well, that wasn't really the need of the women we were reaching out to. There was something more. Women wanted economic empowerment. Women wanted to know, how do I start a business? Can I be successful in this entrepreneurial journey? So we switch gears, we listen to the women, and we switch gears into entrepreneurship, support, connecting each other, networking, and then just building that bridge between these businesses and these women and local, state, federal authorities, because I believe we we are living in a system, right? Even though the system is what it is, we cannot pull ourselves out of it. We still need to understand how it works. We need to understand who the players are and how to connect with them. And that's what we've been doing through Oaks of Central P, particularly Emerge for the past, I would say, 5 years now, since October 2021. Apart from that, I'm an author. I've written 4 books, mom, from Testimonies to Advocate, and I think the last title, if I could say, the last service that I'm doing, it's I'm part of the PA Governors Advisory Commission on Women, a group of women. I think there are 30 of us, where we advise the governor on issues that affect Pennsylvania women.
Wow,
Mhm.
Christine. Yes, you are doing some of the things that I didn't even know that you were doing, but but I want to take you back a little bit. So Christine, tell me a little bit. You've been here for about 15 plus years as far as living in
Yeah.
Pennsylvania or
No, no, I've been in Pennsylvania. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I've been in Pennsylvania for like 17 years, because I always count that based on my daughter's age. She's 17. I came to the US February 2009, 2009, and then I gave birth to her in April. So that's how I keep track of how long I've been around. So
yeah.
yes, I've been my citizen of the United States since that time. I first stopped in Pittsburgh for 5 years, then I moved to Harrisburg around 2013.
Yeah. So I asked you that question because a lot of times people will ask us, what do we do? Right? How do we serve? But I'm thinking of your why. What's your why? Do you see a lot of yourself in some of the women that you're serving, and is that like what keeps you motivated to continue to share resources or ideas with them?
Exactly. I definitely see a lot of myself in them. When people ask me what my why is, I say that's my why. It's to be of service. It might sound cliche, but that's really what drives me, what pushes me, what makes me keep standing, keep fighting, because I feel like I feel the burden, or I carry the burden of other women, because I've been there. I came to this country, like I said, 2009. It was a pregnant Christine with a husband, and a year and a half later on, we're a family of three, and then the husband left. The husband and the father left. So I found myself in Pittsburgh, single mother, new country, with family a little bit stretched too far, and just struggling, struggling with jobs, struggling with daycare, struggling with, how to make it work. And at a certain point, I lost self-esteem. I felt like, I felt like I wasn't worth something, because based on the circumstances and the divorce and everything, I lost that trust in me. I wasn't confident young woman I was when I came, to the country. So I've been through my part of challenges. I shared the story. I remember once with one of the local newspapers here, that when I came to Harrisburg in 2013, I came because of a state job. I accepted a state employment. I didn't know nobody in Harrisburg, so I connected online with with Cameroonian community, because I originally come from there, and someone connected me to this woman who had, she had a two bedroom, and where her daughter was, she kept us a little bit there. And I was there for 3 weeks with my daughter. I left from there, went to a shared accommodation with strange people that, I didn't know. Again, me and my daughter struggling. So I've been there, I've done that, and I understand, yeah, I understand the struggles, I understand the pain. So when I do what I'm doing, it's a way of encouraging other people, and, letting them know that whatever you're going through is a season, it's a phase. I'm trying to be that, I wouldn't say that sister, you know, or that community person that I needed and I didn't have.
Love it.
So that's one. Yeah, that's what really pushes me. That's my purpose.
And you brought in a lot of different dynamics, even sharing your story, which was, you came here with a dream or at least a vision, with a mate, and then life happens. There needs to be a pivot. Okay, it's not the three of us, but now it's me and my child. But you go and pick yourself up by your bootstraps, as they say here in the
Yeah.
States. But to go from trying to just make the ends meet to going into entrepreneurship, like what is the idea around here's what I need to do to pay the rent or the bills, but also how I'm showing up in a business to be able to serve others in the community? Like, what's that like?
Well, I've always had a passion for entrepreneurship. I was the high schooler that used to sell her stuff. Like I used to get stuff and stuff like, well, I like it. I'm like, yeah, can you buy it? Like, this is the price. I had a passion for it. That's why I started business. I've always had that passion. But when I came to the US 2009, that was right at that recession. There were no jobs. I went in, I got my MBA, but there were no jobs. I remember in Pittsburgh back then, you would have an MBA and they would say, hey, come and be a bank teller for $13 an hour. Those were the type of jobs we're getting. And the only option was getting to the state. I started as a limited clerical staff, then came to Harrisburg, HR analyst, moved. And I was at a certain point, I'm like, well, I guess I'll just be a state employee and we'll see how it gets. So God had better plans for me. I can say that way, because at a certain point, I started feeling an unease in me. I was like, wait, there has to be more. You get to work and you have two large computers in front of you, and you just, reviewing application, just going through the motion. And I'm like, "But God, I have something in me, right? Like you deposited something in me. There has to be some gifts in me. There has to be, you had, you've created me for more. Where is that more? How can I access that more? I was really not at ease, and they always say when God must make a move, he creates that uneasiness in you. Sometimes you dismiss it that it's just feeling, it's just hormones, it's just whatever. But if you really pay attention, it's God who's trying to do something. So I started asking myself, what is it that you want me to do? The business idea just came out of the blue. It wasn't even tied to the uneasiness, or it wasn't something that I was like, hey, I want to do it. No, I just turned around in my community. I saw people doing business, and I'm like, maybe that's something I can do. And then I was lucky enough to have a mentor, and I spoke to the mentor. I said, I don't know, maybe I should do this business, get into home care and see. And the mentor was like, yeah, why don't you do it? I mean, you can do it. So it started that way, but it wasn't like full blown. Months went by, and at a certain point, I'm like, I'm not fulfilled where I am. I'm not fulfilled. And I came to that point where I had to make a decision. Do you continue the old path, or do you go the new path? There is this Bible reference I always use. The listeners or viewers, if they're Christians, they would know that passage. It's about the four lepers when they said to themselves, they were in, I think there was war, there was famine, and the four lepers were at the gate, and they said to themselves, well, if we go to the other side, we may die. But if we stay here, we will surely die. So what do we do? I decided to go to the other side. And that was the message that kept resonating to me. I'm like, Christine, if you stay, no, keep reviewing these applications and doing this job, you will die. Not physical death, but you will die in your spirit. But if you step over, if you go on the other side, take this journey of entrepreneurship. It's not gonna be easy. You may die. And I said, you know what? I would rather go there and check it out for myself. So that's what I did. I went out there, and then I started a business, and then just doing what I always love doing, helping people, sharing information. That's how Emerge has started. That's how also Central P started. It was just sharing information. I read what's going on in the community. I pay attention to what's going on in the community, and I see, okay, does it affect, the people, immigrants? Does it affect women? And I'll just be sharing. That's how I started. That's how I started community. Just figuring out, what is out there. Are there any policies? Are there any opportunities for our people, for my people? And I'm just sharing it. So that was something that wasn't happening in our community. There wasn't anybody sharing information because people were gatekeeping information. You see, so when you start sharing those information, and people are like, wait, I want to start a business. Who do I go to? There's this lady who's sharing information. Then they reach out. They get my number. They reach out. COVID came, and people were gatekeeping information on where people could get grants. I'm sharing that information. In fact, the first round, I shared information I didn't even qualify to get it. Others that I shared got it, and I didn't. And people were like, Christine, you're the one sharing this information. How come you didn't benefit from it? I'm like, I just, I don't know how to explain it. I just love helping. And so when I found myself just sharing that information to people started reaching out. Christine, we need this. We need that. Can you help? And at the beginning, even when I didn't know, what it was, I didn't have an answer. I never said no. Never. I always was like, you know what? Let me check something. Let me check something. Then I'll quickly go and start asking around. Does somebody know about this? Just that you're sending out emails, asking questions. When you go in there, then I'll get the answer and I'll share it. So that's how that community thing came from. You know.
Mm. And I
Mhm.
love how you said,
Mhm.
I hear a lot of courage in what it was that you were doing or navigating for your own self, but I also hear you being big on community. If you know something, share something, right? And I heard you say that you wanted to be for others what you needed when you came here
Yes.
and started trying
Yes.
to figure things out
Yes.
for yourself and for your daughter. So
Mhm.
I think we had a conversation a few days ago, and I was asking you about community and about the small business owners or even entrepreneurs
Mhm.
that you're serving right now. And it was kind of
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
I wish they knew that even though they have passion, they have
Mhm.
products, they have
Mhm.
services, but
Mhm.
they also have a story. Just like you were
Yes.
sharing your story with us a few
Yeah.
moments ago, it
Mhm.
really brought us into who you are, not just what you do.
Mhm.
And so,
Mhm.
can you
Mhm.
share with us about the small business owners or entrepreneurs that you come across that might say, I don't have a big network. I moved here with just myself and my immediate family. How do I get the word out about what I'm doing or what I'm passionate about? And how you can tie that into, just like you were just doing, sharing your story?
Yes. I mean, that's a good question. Um, ah, we there's this thing that we always say that we don't trust each other, and I don't know where that came from. That we don't trust each other. So you have, I come across businesses that are either starting or have been around a while, and they're like, well, we want to be on our own site and be doing our own business. Want to focus on our own things. We don't like stepping out there because, we don't trust. And I always tell them, well, we need each other. In as much as whatever you've been told, whatever we've been told about our community, we need each other. We need each other to start the business. We need each other to grow. We need each other to survive. And if you are in your corner alone, that's when the wolf gets you. If
Yeah,
I can say it that way, yes,
absolutely.
that's when the wolf gets you. But if you are in a pack, then, we watch over each other. I mean, networking and being part of a group for me is very important. I always say, yes, I'm in business now for 8 years, but I've survived because of I have survived because of others, because I can pick up my phone and call and say, see, there's this new policy that just came out. How can you help me? Like, do you understand what it is? And someone will be like, yeah, Christine, why don't you check this, check that, check this? And then, you do it and you move on. It is important to have that connection with each other so we can help each other. And back to what you asked about storytelling. I'm a storyteller. That's not something I chose, but then I realized that I have stories, not only my stories, but other people's stories, and that those stories needed a voice, needed an outlet. And I decided to be that outlet. They always say, if you want change people, change the stories that they tell about themselves and the belief about themselves. So that's why I started with a story. Right? I started with a story because when people hear your story, they connect with you more. And I know when we had that conversation, you and I a few weeks ago, I shared about this lady that was in meeting. We were just getting things from Africa and just selling the stuff. And there was no story. She's just any other retailer. And no, she attended a couple of our programs and actually helped her register her business. I helped her get started. And so one day I was like, I mean, I want to know why I should purchase this earring. Why should I purchase it? She's like, but Christina, I said, no, what is the story behind it? You have to have a story. You have to use this platform that you have to empower other women. The women that are supplying these items, you have to empower them and use that as your story. So she started doing that, started having pictures of the women that were weaving the basket, that were doing the earrings. So when she started going to all these vendor and these pop-up places, she was sharing the stories of those women. People want to know. I want to know if I'm purchasing this $10 earring, it's helping somebody in somewhere
send her child to school. That makes me want to buy half of it. But if there is no story behind it, then you're just any other person, right? So that's why, I mean, I'm not saying go and invent stories, but manufacture stories. All of us, we have stories. We're not, well, the universe didn't just drop us off here on this planet, and all of us have stories. But as a business owner, you have to identify those stories that connect to your business, and capitalize on it. You don't need 10 stories. You just need one, two stories that are strong enough to justify why you're doing this business. When we were shut down during the pandemic and we opened up, when we had the red and yellow levels to open up, when we finally opened up, and I was sitting right here in the same office, I was asking myself, so I don't think this business is going to survive the pandemic. I don't think people want to come back. And then I saw one of our science, non-verbal. He was dropped off. Once the door opened, he rushed it. Like he was so excited. He'd been home, I don't know, for months. He was so excited to come in. And I was like, wow, that's the sign that I need to keep this business going. So whenever people came in, families came in to tour the facility, during that pandemic in post, and they're like, why this facility? And I'll tell them that story. I'm like, that's why. I'm like, we're open today, not because, well, we're trying to make money, because the people that are coming are so excited. The moment they stop being excited, and they'll be like, okay, we need to close. And I'll share that story. And that connects with them because that's something you can feel that passion, man. You can understand, okay, yeah. That means you're doing something. So as a business owner, why find that story that connects to why you're doing what you're doing and capitalize on it. Hold on to it. Use it. You can be repeating the same story over and over, but it should be something to believe in, something that can help your clients, your customers understand you as a person better. So customers who connect to people that have stories. If you're just into business, like, okay, I'm just trying to sell this bottle, I'm just trying to provide, I'm just trying to make more, they will not feel like you're going to go above and beyond. But if you have a story, whatever it is, must not be fanciful, just a story that you hold on to, it connects with them and it makes them understand that, you know what, this person I can trust. They'll go above and beyond to deliver the service or to produce.
I love how you brought that up, Christine, because similarly, even in my field, financial services, insurance, investments, all of that kind of stuff, it's very vast, right? You could find a financial person pretty much on any
Yeah.
corner. And one of the things that I felt like set me apart was because I was often willing to share my story, right?
Yes.
The
Yes.
unlikely entrepreneur of someone who grew up in poverty and,
Yes.
would not likely be in this business, first of all. But there's generations of people that I grew up around that didn't know anything about money. And so I did not inherit a silver spoon, as they say. I did not inherit a bunch of assets when I came into this world, but it also did not stop me from seeking out that information. It also did not keep me from seeking out the learning that would take me from being in poverty as well as having a poverty mindset to being someone who is a lifetime learner. I am so curious.
Yeah.
I am like one of those little cats that dangle
Yeah.
a string in front of them. Like I'm always eager to learn. And when I share my story with my prospective clients, with my partners, with my mentors,
Mhm.
they're like, wow, like to see you go so far, kind of like you, 17 years in
Yeah.
this business.
Mhm.
They're like, wow, I've watched you grow. I've watched
Mm,
from insurance
mm.
agent to financial planner to investment
Mhm.
advisor to
Mhm.
nonprofit founder to
Yeah.
all of these things.
Yes.
And they
Yes.
feel connected to not just the products and services that I offer,
Mhm.
they're connected to me as a person. And so I love, love, love that you shared that even in your own life, you've been able to
Mhm.
navigate spaces, but
Mhm.
sharing your
Mhm.
story keeps people connected to you and your why and wanting to see you win. So I love, love, love that you brought that up. And likewise, we were talking about how I am curious and a lifetime learner.
Mhm.
Have you been able to share with your, I guess, clients that you have
Mhm.
they too should continue to learn and grow, even though they might be great at what they do. They might be a skilled trades person, but what's your thoughts on continuing to learn and grow, even in your field, or if you're venturing into another field?
Yes, I'm just like you, Dr. Constance. I am a lifelong learner. I am pro personal growth, pro personal development. I always share that with different groups whenever I have to speak. I'm like, it is very important to develop yourself. It is very important to have that mindset of always learning. I will share the story when I started this journey of community advocate. I used to be very shy person. I would do training, do little things here, but I never was the type that would stand in front of a crowd and speak, give speeches, give master classes, all those things. It was sort of scary for me. But then when I understood that my journey tied tied up to the fact that I needed to be able to communicate to a group of people. I was like, what do I do? What do I do? So I started researching how to work on my communication, how to be a public speaker. That's how I joined Toastmasters. Right there in the pandemic, joined Toastmasters. I had to take that aspect seriously. I had to look at my life and look at the things that where I was lacking, do an inventory of where I was lacking to work on those things. Constantly tell people you the fact that you are doing a particular business doesn't mean that you've arrived, quote unquote, you know everything there is to know there. You always have to constantly learn, constantly put yourself in rooms where you can learn. I go to so many seminars, I can't even count. I sit in rooms where I don't know nothing just because I want to learn. And I tell people, you have to do that. If you have, say, a restaurant, you're into food catering, you have been doing that business for 2, 3 years, and you've never gone to, say, a restaurant a conference or some seminar that has to deal with how to preserve food, how to, you have to put yourselves in those roles. Same thing with the human services and all these things. I attend so many conferences and I tell people, some of them, yes, are expensive, but there are other ones that you could, right here in the community, you could sign up for and attend those and learn, constantly asking questions. Be the, I don't know, be the most ignorant person in the room, provided you're learning something, right? Be the person in the room that knows nothing, provided you will get something. I mean, you can tell how passionate I am about that because I tell people all the time, we we always say black people don't read. I don't know why who says that. I don't know why we read. I don't know why we don't try to, educate ourselves. We're missing out a lot. We're missing out a lot when we don't do that, when we just talk with the knowledge that we have. But some businesses they were operating say in Africa and then they come here and the one start operating the same way like they were doing in Africa and then they face with issues. And when you're like, why don't you try to develop yourself in this particular area? Well, I was in business in Africa for so and so number of years. Sure, but you are in a different environment here. You're in a different system right here. So you have to become a lifelong learner. You have to become like a kid. You have to put yourself in that position where you're constantly asking questions, constantly trying to get better. And whatever thing it is that you're doing.
Mm, I love that you say that. And I want to say, too, sometimes people have difficulty asking for help or, even I say this all the time, you don't know what you don't know.
So,
Right. And
so
so, like you mentioned, if they've come from a certain level of experience in a different area and they come to the States and they're thinking that information, that knowledge will transpose over
mhm,
to this new area, it may or it may not. And then, if it doesn't work, then they could get into this guilt or this shame or
mhm,
this stuck pattern. And it's like,
mhm,
we all should continue to grow, like you just said.
yes.
And if we continue to grow in and outside of our spaces, it lends itself to us being like a thought leader or a person of authority in that way. If we've learned something and we've mastered it, then
Yes.
you kind of
Yes.
become the mentor in a
Yes.
way.
Sure.
And I found
Very
that
true.
when you become a mentor, it kind of helps you and the person that you're
Very
mentoring
true.
in a
Very
way,
true.
because
Yeah.
I find that I've been in this field for a while, you've been in your field for a
Mhm.
while, but it's like sometimes you kind of lose sense of your why, or sometimes you lose
Yes.
sense of your purpose.
Yeah.
And then when
Sure. Sure.
up and coming person
Yes.
comes into your
True.
space and they ask you, "How did you stay so long?
True.
How
True.
did you do this?" Like, it kind of reinvigorates you as someone who's been there, done that, got the t-shirt, but now you're able to give back to someone who may be just getting started. What's your thoughts on that?
Yes, I totally agree. I remember there was a time a few months ago, I have just this friend who for years I've been trying to get her to start a business. She's based in Pittsburgh. And so she called me and she's like, Christina, I want to register my business through that process. And so, oh, I no, I gave her the screenshots, gave her the link, gave her the screenshots, gave her everything. I'm like, go do your stuff. She started doing it and she got stuck. She kept me in my car for, I would say, an hour trying to go through the process of, okay, no, don't click on this, click on that. At a certain point, I was getting upset. I was like, seriously, Christine, I mean, you've been doing this thing long enough. How can you say it's just to help someone register a business? After that call, I sat down and I said, but why did this Jen in the first place? Who are you met in the first place? And you realize that no matter how far you go, no matter the high level rooms you sit with, the tables with go getters, high level that you sit on, or your core purpose is still to help that woman in the community who doesn't have access, who doesn't know what to do, whose problem is, Christian, I'm trying to just register this business. Ever since that conversation with myself and that experience with that friend, I sort of had to, check myself. you know, check myself because like you mentioned, the more we go in and the more we're doing all these great things, it can be tempting to forget why you started in the first place. Because when we started or when I started, I didn't start because I wanted to sit on these big tables. I didn't start because I wanted to be cited. I wanted to be, known. No, I started because I wanted to be the first sister. I wanted to help someone else. The help I didn't get, I wanted to be that person to help them also, come to this point, realize their dreams, find their purpose. So when you come across such situations, it helps you, go back to base. Like they say, go back to base. Again, a few weeks ago, someone called me from York, Christian, there's a church in York that gave me your number. I want to start a business. Same issue. I want to register. And I was like, sure. We talk. And she's like, oh, I want to change my name. I want to do this. And I just listened because I understood that it is actually still a privilege and an honor that people can still call you for these things that you might consider small, but which are not really small because it is those small that made you who you are. So if you forget about those things, or if now you're like, well, please, I'm too busy for that, then you forget the core.
Yeah. I love that you shared that and with such passion as well. This is August 2026, and it happens to be Black Business Month. And I've been noticing a lot in this country, especially over the last couple of years, that people have been, as I say, othering on folks. othering on folks. But I like to believe that the African American experience and African immigrant experience, especially in the entrepreneurship space, there's lots of challenges that we all face similarly. So my question to you before we close out is, what would you like for us to know about the African immigrant experience as they are navigating their passions, their business, access to capital? What would you like us to know about what you have seen and maybe even experienced yourself in that experience?
Wow, we would need another podcast for that. Like we need another time. We need like another 30 minutes to talk about that. Hmm. Same, first off, I really want to say that the African immigrant that starts a business obviously starts with a lot of challenges. Some of the challenges are what every black and brown person experiences: lack of access to capital, lack of the right network, lack of information, and just racism and discrimination. But the African immigrant has another layer of difficulties. You have the communication barrier that that is strong, very strong. Even for some of us that speak English, it's still challenging. Talk less of people who, they were speaking other languages and other dialects, and, they didn't learn English prior to coming here and things like that. So that, you have that challenge. You have that challenge, the fact that you're not used to the system. You didn't grow up here.
Yeah.
A lot of us, when we came here as adults. We had to learn things fast track learning things. Others have taken years to learn, but you come and you have 2 years, 3 years to learn those things fast. When we start businesses, yeah, we start based on our limited knowledge, to tell you the truth. We understand a little bit, but we don't let that stop us, and then we start. And sometimes that is us shooting ourselves on the leg because we don't really know all the policies. We don't really understand all the players. So when we start, we get hit. We get hit. That's why starting is really not our issue. It's growing. That is our issue. It's being sustainable. That's our issue. Because, we start with passion. We start with excitement. But then when we get in, we realize, wow, there are things we don't know. And so that's when start getting hit. Um, I always say networking is important, family is important, having that connection with other businesses is very important. That's why I stress on it. That I make that my focus point when I speak to these immigrant businesses. I'm like, you cannot be alone. I'm going to share this short story, if you permit me. We were in a meeting once with businesses and with, local authorities. And one of the business owners, an immigrant business owner, he took the stage and he asked the question that and he shouldn't have asked, because it was a question he should have known had he completed the process, or had he taken the process of starting his business and getting approved as a provider seriously. It was a question that showed that he didn't really understand the business he was getting into. And I felt bad, Dr. Constance. I felt bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it was on Teams and I couldn't text him directly, say, hey, bro, stop. This is my contact. Reach out to me directly. Let me answer these questions. Let me direct you. So I started texting the other businesses that were on the call, that I had their numbers. I'm like, who is this? Who is this? And nobody knew who he was, because he just started, blah, 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 blah. And we all felt bad. I'm like, that's why having, that
connection and that network with other businesses is important because there are certain things that they can share with you that can help you. So you don't go out there and you swallow. You don't go out there and you hit that. So that that for me is a community network is the solution to the issues that we are faced. That's the part we get to control. All other things we cannot control. We cannot control access to capital. We cannot control the right connections. We cannot control lobbying. We cannot control all those things, but we can control how we build our community. We can control to build a strong community of businesses. That's on us. We can come and say, you know what, we're going to build a solid community where nobody gets left out. Nobody is allowed to fail. All the businesses in there, we are going to help each other to survive. We can do that. That's in our control. We don't have to wait for the government to make that decision for us. We don't have to wait for the policymakers. We don't have to wait for the financial institutions. Among ourselves, we can build that circle where we help each other to keep.
Christine, you're about to have me run around this office. You're about to have me throw my shoe across the wall. Listen, you done got me pumped up in here.
I mean, you asked the right question, girl. You asked the right question. I'm pumped up where I am. I'm like, I'm about to go do something, but yes.
Oh my gosh. I am so grateful for
No.
our relationship. I am so grateful for what I have seen you do in this community out here in Central PA. We are blessed to know you, and we are blessed to show up and serve you when you have things going on. If you're doing any conferences, if you have a book, if you have anything that you'd want our support on, could you please share where we could find you, where we could find more about your information? Please let us know.
Okay. But yes, I do have my first book. Okay. So it's titled Buckle Up, 10 Startup Pitfalls Faced by Minority Small Businesses and How to Fix Them. I encourage, I know, sometimes when authors write books, and Dr. Constance, you've written quite a few yourself, people always feel like it's because we want to sell those books, we want to make money, we want to do this, we want to do that. And then they they don't take it seriously, And I always tell people, I don't live off the books. I don't live off those books. If I get $1 million contract or $1 million book sales, hey, then that's good. But I don't live off it. If we put a book like this together, it is empower ourselves. I put the minority small businesses intentionally. I know when I put that subtitle, one of my mentors said, Christine, in this day and time that we are living in, the word minority small businesses is going to make you not sell books. You should just put small businesses. And I said, no, because this book is for people like me. It's for people like you, Dr. Constance. It's for ourselves. It is a guide so that we can help ourselves survive the season and keep thriving. The book has stories. It's not just, it's not your regular business book with theories and practice, all those things. No, these are stories like the ones I shared today. These are stories that affected other businesses like, that look like us, that, come from the same places we come from so that they can be encouraged. There is no reason why as a small business, minority business, you should be faced with some type of, challenges. 10 years ago when I started, there was no book. Like I mentioned, there were people I were calling and, hey, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? I mean, even just to register the name I selected for my business, City Home Care Services. With hindsight, I'm like, I should have chosen another name because there've been confusion with the name. Simple things like that. That's what is in this book. That's what you need to know. It is for us, by us, and for us. You can find it, check me out on LinkedIn. That's where I am, Christine Titih, on my website, christine-titih.com. And let's connect. Let's connect. Even if you're not getting a book, if you need anything that I can be of help, reach out and I'll be.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And I'll make sure that we put your information in the notes so that those that are interested can find you. And before we head off, I just wanted to let the audience know that this podcast is not your typical financial podcast. It is the podcast that says wealth goes beyond the numbers. It is who we are becoming on this journey of money. It is the legacy that we get to leave. It is our voices that get heard through entrepreneurship, through building families. And so I just wanted to thank our guest, Christine Titih, for showing up and showing out on this podcast episode. And I also want you to like, to comment, to subscribe if at all possible. There is someone who needs to hear what Christine has shared today. And I want to encourage you to continue to support each other in business and help each other to grow, as we all need someone. So thank you. I'm signing off. Dr. Constance here and Christine Titih.